YouTube, I am back with another video. Today's video is going to be all about my snakes. I have 3 currently, and I will introduce you. I will introduce you to all of them. That's what I get for not using a tripod. I will introduce you to all of them shortly. Please excuse my voice throughout the video. I am a little bit sick, so my voice is a little off. But other than that, let's get into the video because I don't feel like doing a long intro because I'm sick. So to start, we have Evelyns Enclosure. She is a ball python. She is the oldest and the biggest out of all the snakes that I have. Her age is unclear, but I do know based on size that she is older than the other 2 snakes I have. Her personality is a little bit different than the rest of my animals. She has more of a queen-like personality. You definitely serve her, not the other way around. She's not here for you, you are here for her. She very much radiates that energy, which I absolutely love. She will definitely let you know who is boss here, and it is not me, it is her. However, she is very docile. She will let me know if I'm bothering her, but most of the time she does let me pick her up and take her out and everything like that. Her enclosure is an Exoterra 36 by 18 by 12. For substrate, I have a wide variety. I have Eco Earth, Repti Soil, Repti Bark, I have moss. I also have a cleanup crew of springtails and isopods. I no longer have live plants in her enclosure because of her size and her activity level. She actually destroys the plants. When she goes over them, she either squishes them or she pulls them out of the substrate. So I switched over to fake plants. A lot of the plants that you're seeing, like all the purple plants, all the succulents, are from the Dollar Tree. A lot of the foliage is from stores like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Pretty much any craft store that sells like fake plants, you'll be able to find really cool foliage that you can mix in. I do have a couple from the big chain pet stores, but I don't recommend going to the big chain stores just because they have them so heavily priced. And honestly, you can just go to a craft store and get the same thing for way cheaper. One thing I will admit that I spend a little bit too much money on are the actual hardscape decorations, like the logs, the hides, the water bowls. In Evelyns Enclosure, I do only have one actual hide, and I'll explain why I only have one in a little bit. But this one is from Thrive at PetSmart. It was around $15. Now, of course, you can make your own, or you can buy like the cheap plain ones. I personally like the ones that look more realistic or more like what you would find in nature, like the logs and the rocks. But that's my own personal preference. Now, when I got Ava, she came with 4 hides, all of them different sizes, different shapes, and this is the only one she will use. It's like her little castle. It's kind of what I mean by that queen mentality. Like, Ava knows what she likes, and she sticks with it, and she doesn't settle for less. This is her favorite hide, and it is the only hide she will use. Now, with ball pythons, they typically recommend 2 to 3 hides. And I completely agree with that, but it depends on the snake. Like Ava here, she only uses this one hide, and she doesn't get spooked very easily. She's not a very anxious snake. She actually is incredibly active, especially at nighttime. She's always out exploring every night. Like if I stay up late, I usually can catch her out exploring. So I'm not too concerned about only having one hide in here. Besides the fact that she literally will not use, like, it doesn't matter what hide I buy for her, she will not use it unless it's this one. But it truly depends on what kind of snake you have. Now, her brother, I have multiple hides in his enclosure because he's a little bit more of an anxious snake. This is MacNCheese's enclosure. Now, unlike his sister, he is very timid. As you can see, his tank is significantly smaller. He has more hides. Everything is very close together because Mac is incredibly anxious. He doesn't go out and explore very much. He primarily just stays in this rock cave. But then as you can see to the left, I have the two half logs on top of each other, and he sometimes likes to wedge himself between the two logs. But those are really the two only areas he goes. So I downgraded him to a smaller enclosure, and he seems to like that a little bit better. It all truly depends on the personality of your snake. As you can see, I have two of the exact same species. Obviously, they're different morphs, but they are two totally different snakes with two totally different needs. Avaline does not skip meals, where MacNCheese will go on a hunger strike for months. He is very picky about his food. He will only eat white rats. He will not eat any rat with any type of color on them. I don't know if he can, if they taste different or what, but he is very picky about everything. Now, Mac was my first ball python. I got him from a breeder who I found on Morph Market, and actually she just so happened to live in the same city I did. I was incredibly excited to get him because my entire childhood I had wanted a snake. Snakes were one of my favorite animals, but my mom never let me. So now that I was 18 when I got him, and I'm ready to move out and everything like that. So I got him. And I learned very quickly that ball pythons truly are very picky eaters. When I got Mac, he was at the size where he no longer needed mice and he needed to start going on to rats. But the pet stores in my city didn't have the size rats that I needed. So I started off by trying to feed him live rats. Live baby rats, eyes still closed. And I had actually purchased one from a friend I know that works at the pet store. And MacNCheese is actually incredibly terrified of live food. The baby rat's eyes weren't even open, and he was scared of it. So if that shows you how timid MacNCheese is, I don't know what else could prove to you that he's a very timid snake. He is scared of his own food. This is my last snake. This is Morganite. She is my youngest. She is a little bit over a year, about a couple weeks over a year old now. I got her on Black Friday at a big chain pet store, and I normally don't recommend that, but she's pink. I walked in and there's just this pink snake staring at me, and I couldn't say no. I absolutely love the color pink. How could I say no to having a pink snake? Plus, she was on sale, so it was just worth it. But she is my sweet little baby. She is very spoiled. She is definitely the young child in the family. How there's the oldest sibling, the middle sibling, and the youngest is always spoiled. That's exactly what it's like to be Morgan. She is very spoiled, but there's a good reason to it. About 2 months after getting her, I was still living with a roommate in my apartment, and my roommate had a cat, and the cat got a hold of Morgan and scratched her, so she does have some scarring, but I had to take her to the vet. We had to get ointment and an oral medication that I actually had to pry her mouth open and give her through syringe. It made for a very long month. We did about, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks of the oral medication, and she had to do a month of no substrate. I had very minimal hides and decorations in there just because we really wanted to avoid possibly infecting that wound. So she had no soil. She only had about 2 hides in there, the dinosaur and then a log. And then her water bowl is technically a hide as well. So I guess she had 3 hides in her enclosure, but that was it. Nothing to really climb on and stuff like that. We really, really, really wanted to avoid the idea of infection. But once her wounds healed, I decided to put substrate back in and decided to go with a bioactive substrate. And that's when I decided to do all the snakes with bioactive. Pretty much all the snakes have the same mix, except for only Ava has the Repti chips. But everybody else has the Repti soil and the Eco Earth and the moss kind of all mixed together. All of them have the cleanup crew as well, just because that makes my life a little bit easier. Especially in Morgan's enclosure. I mean, her enclosure is very busy. Like, there is stuff everywhere, and it's all perfectly in this 20-gallon long aquarium. And it all fits perfectly, and as soon as you try to move something, you've like ruined everything, and you'll never get it back to being the way that it was before. So I try not to move anything, so it's nice to have the cleanup crew, because I don't really have to worry that much about like her waste, because the cleanup crew just cleans it up for me. Now that of course does not mean like don't clean your enclosures if you have cleanup crew in there, but it does take care of a lot of that waste, majority of it. Really the only thing I ever have to try to clean up is the urates, or however you say. I'm pretty sure I said that right. But basically the snake pee, that can't really be broke down, and the cleanup crew doesn't necessarily eat it, so it kind of just sits there. So that I usually remove, but otherwise I pretty much let the cleanup crew do the rest. Morganite's Enclosure is by far my favorite enclosure that I've put together so far. It definitely shows a lot of both of our personalities. Like for me, I really like dinosaurs. Like growing up, dinosaurs, snakes, lizards, like those were my things. Like I knew everything about dinosaurs growing up. So when I went into PetSmart and saw this hide, I knew I had to get it. Like there was no questioning. I got it right away when it first came out, because I loved it. Like that is so me. And then the pink and purple, my three favorite colors are pink, purple, and green. And you guys know me, I like to keep that natural look to the enclosure. So I wanted to keep it looking natural, but still have those fun colors like the pink and purple. And it really helps bring out that pink in her skin tone. Because depending on the lighting, it kind of doesn't always look pink. But you know, with those pink and purple accents, it really helps bring out that skin color on her. But I also like with her enclosure, it is so full and so busy, and there's just so much stuff going on in her enclosure. It keeps her busy. Morganite is a very active, very energetic snake. She is very curious. She really likes, like, right now I have her in my living room, and I kind of plan on keeping her there because she's so interested in like what I'm doing. So like if I'm walking around or even just sitting watching TV in the living room, she's out exploring and kind of trying to show off like, hey, I'm watching you, I'm out, look at me. She very much loves the spotlight being on her, and very much loves like human attention. But she also likes, you know, she likes to climb. She likes to, like, on this skeleton, this dinosaur skeleton, she likes to wrap herself around and weave through the ribs. And it just, the whole enclosure keeps her busy and it keeps her active. Like, when she just had the bare bottom enclosure, she pretty much just stayed in her hot hide all day, and that's all she did. As soon as I added in the soil and all this stuff for her to interact with, she became more active. And again, this is another one of those things where it really depends on the snake. For me, I lucked out. Morgan became more active with the more stuff I put in. Now, like MacNCheese, if I kept adding and changing his enclosure, he would freak out and, you know, hides a little bit more. Where Morgan, the more stuff I put in her enclosure, the happier she is. And it's not because she's timid or likes to hide, but she loves to climb and explore everything. She also loves digging tunnels, like under her enclosure. If you're looking under her enclosure, you can see all of her little tunnels that she's made. And that, I heavily believe, kind of backs up the whole, like, your animals should be thriving, not just surviving. I'm a heavy believer that my animals need to be thriving, not just surviving. That's the whole point of having a pet. It's not just to have it. Like, you are taking care of this animal. You are making sure that this animal has the best life. At least that should be your goal when you're getting a pet, is you want to make sure that this animal has the best possible life it can. When Morgan was in her quarantine tank when she was injured, she was just surviving. She had the bare minimum. I had paper towel substrate. I had minimum hides. Like, everything was the bare minimum. And I feel like that's how a lot of people set up their animal enclosures, is just the bare minimum. You have exactly just enough for them to survive and be alive. And to me, I just don't think that's enough. I like when my animals are happy and they're thriving. They're exploring. They're out. Morgan is a very active snake. She became much more active with the more stuff I put in her cage. Do I need all the stuff that's in her cage? Did I need to spend all that extra money? No, I did not. Did I? Yes, of course. When she had the bare minimum, she sat in her hot hide all day and only came out for food or water. That was it. Now if I walk out in the living room, she's going to come out immediately and almost greet me like a dog does. Now, did it take time for me to figure that out and figure out what does and doesn't make my animals happy? Of course. It's like experimenting. Of course, you want to safely experiment, make sure that the experiments you're trying are safe for the animal that you have, but that's the whole point of having these animals, is you're supposed to be having fun with this. You're not just trying to make this animal survive and live and be alive. You want it to be alive and happy. And sometimes it takes a little while for you to figure out what makes them happy. They can't just verbally say, "Mom, I really like this dinosaur skeleton you got me. I love it. It's exquisite." It can't say that. It's a snake. You have to experiment and watch your animal's behavior and see if it changes positively or negatively. And to me, that's the fun part of having these animals, you know? I like designing their enclosures. I like trying to figure out what does and doesn't make them happy. Does it take work and money? Yes, it does. But it's completely worth it in the end when all your animals are happy. But anyways, thank you guys for attending my TED Talk and my little rant. But that's all I have for you guys today. I only have the 3 snakes. Unfortunately, I wish I had more. But for right now, I just have the 3 snakes. So that concludes the snake video. Leave in the comments what animal you guys want to see next. I have the lizards, I have the frogs, I have the turtle, fish. I've got pretty much anything. Let me know what you guys want to see, or if you guys want to see specific care videos for specific animals, or just whatever you guys want to see. Comment down below and I will make the video. But until then, I will see you guys next time.